You'll know the President announced Monday that the country was going to close 20 land border posts until mid-February to curb the spread of coronavirus. He said the huge congestion at border posts had exposed many people to COVID-19 infection as they waited to be processed. Still problems today at the Lebombo border post. I guess the key question is whether the closures can be enforced. I want to bring into this conversation David Peddie from the Border Control Operational Coordinating Committee. Colonel Peddie, good afternoon to you and a very warm welcome. First of all, your assessment of the decision, first of all. Was it a good move? Did the President have a choice?
I think it is probably highly essential, but I think maybe I just want to correct something. I'm not from the BCOCC. I was a member of it years ago. I'm an ex-Defence Force person who was responsible for operations on the borders and the borderline. So that is maybe an essential correction, sorry.
And my apologies, I will take full responsibility for that. Having said that, though, it was a difficult choice, but as you say, probably he had to do it.
Yes, I think probably essential because of the massive numbers we've seen over the past time at the border post, particularly Lebombo, Beitbridge and so on. So there's probably no other answer to that. However, it does beg the question, so what about that? If people can't go through the border post, legally or otherwise, then they're certainly going to try to go, as they have indeed been doing for the last years, across the border line, which is, of course, a problem to enforce, which is, I expect, why we're speaking today, that it's difficult because there aren't enough troops actually to police the borders in the sense that we would like to have done. There was a time when we had 28 companies on the borders. We now have 15. And clearly that's a massive shortfall, and the implications are that there are not enough people, besides the fact that the original electric fence that used to be deployed along that border no longer exists in vast areas, in form rather than in fact. And the result of that is that the soldiers walking on the borders have to physically look for them, whereas before they would have been electronically alerted of the fact that someone was trying to attempt to cross somewhere.
And we've already had evidence today, particularly at the Lebombo border post, of people in Mpumalanga simply going over the mountains. So in that respect, Colonel Peddie, which are the border posts that are of concern? Obviously, that would be one of them.
Yes, indeed. In fact, the Lebombo Mountains have always been an issue for stolen vehicles crossing over. And obviously, in the past, it wasn't really so much a problem of people trying to get through in terms of pedestrian types. But now we have a different situation. And yes, the same point arises there, that from the Swazi border right through to the Kruger border, you have the problem of derelict fences and insufficient troops. A lack of electronic devices to manage the problem that we have as a force multiplier, as we would call it. And the problem is that there's no way of easily stopping them.
So how does the enforcement strategy, if there is one, need to change?
Well, currently the strategy is what it always has been, largely, that you have the fence, the border line as it is defined. You have people patrolling it by vehicle or on foot. Where possible, we use helicopters as well. And then there is the system of the roads which lead away from the border posts. And in conjunction with the police, we would then do roadblocks, vehicle checkpoints, and identify people in that way. But clearly, many of the guides who are very prevalent on the other side of the borders, who take money from the individuals, and it can be as high as a couple of hundreds of rands, to lead them to a point where they get over, and then organize on the other side for a taxi or two to pick them up. And so you've got minutes effectively to catch them on the Lebombo border before they're onto the main road and heading wherever. On the Zimbabwe side and down to the Botswana side, it's not so easy, in so much that there's a larger area of rural bush that they have to go through, farmlands, tribal areas and so on, which they need to cross before they can get out, which gives us, in a sense, a better chance of intersecting them. Obviously, the police are involved in this matter as well.